let's start with the, let's call the Crystal Council meeting to order at this time. Let's start with roll call.
Councilmember LaRoche. Councilmember Parsons.
Here.
Mayor Adams.
Here.
Councilmember Banks.
Here.
Councilmember Budaszewski.
Here.
Councilmember Deschler.
Here.
Councilmember Kaiser.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have an agenda before us. Looking for a motion on that agenda. Assuming there's no discussion, go ahead, Olga.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
All right, thank you, Brendan.
I second that motion.
Thank you. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Next, we have our consent agenda. I will read that into the record at this time. We have 3 sets of minutes, work session from March 5th and the council meeting from the same date, and then a work session from March 14th. And approval of license applications submitted by the city clerk to the city council. That is in file in her office. Approval of a resolution accepting the following donations: $500 from BGD Companies, Inc. for Becker Park project, $500 from the Crystal Lions for the K-9 unit, $6,885 from Crystal VFW for the K-9 unit, $20 from Nancy Long for the K-9 unit, $100 from Robbinsdale Lions Club for the K-9 unit, $50 from Dave Waldron for Crystal Junior Police Academy, and $50 from Dave as well for the Crystal Reserve officers. Thank you for those donations. Approval of a resolution for the Public Works Equipment Loan Agreement, and then approval of a resolution authorizing grant applications to the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources for hockey rink at North Lions Park. And then the final item is approval of a temporary on-sale license for a social event on March 10th, submitted by the Church of St. Raphael's, located at 7301 56th Avenue. That is our consent agenda. Looking for a motion on that one. Julie?
I'll move approval of the consent agenda as read.
Thank you. Looking for a second?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Therese. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right. Do we have anyone here wishing to speak during open forum? Nobody? We from the audience? Seeing nobody approach, we will skip by open forum. So our first item is a public hearing. We have Dan Olson here to address the council. We're going to see a lot of Dan tonight. So welcome, Dan. If you want to start us off, that'd be great.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I have 3 items tonight. They're sort of broken up within the agenda. The first item is a public hearing, and then there's 2 items after the disbursements. So you could all do them all at once, or I could break them up like that, like they are currently on the agenda. So all 3 items relate to the same project. There's an easement vacation, and then there's a rezoning, and then a resolution to amend the CUP, and then there's a lot consolidation. So they're all together for the same project. First, I'll just show you the general location. This in the blue here, this is the location of the River Tree School. So it's located at 38th and Veracruz, just west of Highway 100. This is for the public hearing tonight. This is easement vacations. Because of the lot consolidation, which I'll talk about a little later, the applicant is asking for existing easements on the property to be vacated. The new plat is called the River Tree School, and the blue here on the screen are the existing drainage and utility easements that would be vacated, and then the yellow is an existing alley easement that would be vacated. The city has no plans to construct that alley, of course, and as far as when the easements for the drainage and utility are vacated, they will be then replaced in the new plat. So I have notified the utility companies of the vacation requests. 2 of them have no issues with it, and 2 did not respond to the. So we're assuming that they have no issues either. So tonight, for this particular item, what you're being asked to do is hold the public hearing and then consider adopting the resolution to vacate the alley and the drainage and utility easements.
All right. Any questions before we open the public hearing from the council? Seeing none, at this time I will open the public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak during the public hearing? Anybody wishing to speak during the public hearing? Citizens? Neighbors? All right. Seeing nobody approach, we will close the public hearing. And we are going straight into a resolution here, I believe.
Yes, you have your choice. If you can wait to adopt the resolution until after I finish the other two items, or you can adopt it now, whatever your choice.
Did you have that listed in both locations?
I believe it's listed in just one.
All right, why don't we handle this one right now?
Sure, makes sense.
Council, if you would take a look at this first resolution under the public hearing, looking for a motion on that one. John?
Make a motion for the resolution vacating certain alleys and easements within the plat of Trinity Covenant Church and the plat of L.B. Berglund's addition.
Thank you, John. Looking for a second? Brendan? Thank you. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Fumble.
Your runaway mouse.
Runaway mouse. All right, on with our regular agenda. The council will approve disbursements of $25,000 or greater. I will read those into the record at this time. Waste management for January recycling costs, Hennepin Recycling Group, $37,715. AEM Financial Solutions for financial services for February and March for $29,600. Golden Valley Joint Water Commission for January water costs, $422,898. Institution Technologies USA for sanitary storm sewer lining projects, that's a progress billing for $128,063. Health Partners for March employee and retire health insurance premiums, includes both of those groups, $101,721. Minnesota Para for the employee and city required contributions for pay date 3/8/19, $60,412. Total disbursements of $25,000 or greater is $780,411.69. Are there any questions on any of these items from the council? Go ahead, Julie.
I actually have one that's kind of for Kim.
All right.
So if an employee works for the city or any city, say they work 30 years and they're retired at 55, are we paying health insurance premiums for everybody now that retires after a certain age through age 65, or has that been changed?
That has been changed many years ago. I believe the last group, employee group to change was in 2003.
So there must be still one person on the...
Well, and that could be a pass-through where we collect. The city does not pay the entire premium, but they do. If you are a public employee who is eligible to retire under the PERA rules,
You can stay on the COBRA plan.
you can have access to the health insurance from the city until you're 65.
But you pay the full
But you
premium.
pay the full premium.
Okay.
amount.
I just wanted to clarify
Right,
that.
so the city itself does not pay for any retirees.
Okay. All right.
Good question. Good question. I was thinking that as well. Any other questions? All right. Looking for a motion on these items. John?
So moved.
Thank you. Looking for a second?
I'll second.
Therese, thank you. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, we are back to Dan Olson, and he will be going through the planned development and adoption of the resolution as written in our packet. Go ahead, Dan.
Yes, just continue with that same project I was talking about earlier. This is a lot more background. River Tree School is at 3733 Fair Cruise, as I said, and they operate under a 2012 conditional use permit that was approved by the City Council. So tonight they're asking to, because of the expansion of the campus, they want to which is adding a building to the property, classroom building. They want to consolidate their lots into one single parcel, and then also amend the 2012 conditional use permit by rezoning it to a planned development, or PD. The planned development, the main reason for doing that is just to allow two principal buildings on one property, and that's the way to do it. The two buildings would be the existing school building, which is a former church, and then the proposed classroom building. As I said, they do own 4 properties now on that map that I showed you earlier. That was the blue shaded properties. They own the lot where the school is currently existing. They also own a second lot, which is just a portion of the parking lot. Then they own 3709 Vera Cruz, which is an existing single-family home that they have purchased, that they are going to be demolishing the home. And then they own 3701 Vera Cruz, which is a vacant lot. It did have a home on it, which was demolished in 2016. So the new school building would be going on 3709 and 3701 Vera Cruz once they get that, once they demolish that existing home. As far as the lot consolidation, they'll be as I said, consolidated in one lot. They have submitted a final plat for that, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. The new classroom building, it's 10,400 square feet with 5 classrooms, what's called a maker space room, which is kind of an area for the kids to work together, and then various offices and common areas throughout the building. This is the proposed site plan for the building. You can see at the bottom there it says proposed school expansion. That's where the existing building would be going. The existing building is on the corner, so there is a home located between the proposed building and the existing building. And that homeowner is very much aware of this project and had lots of discussions. The school actually has a purchase agreement with that property owner to eventually purchase that property. Okay, so as far as parking, we based the requirement on the number of maximum students for the property, which is 208. So based on that, they would need 70 parking spaces. They have 102. Most of these kids that are going to the school, I'd say 3/4 of them don't even drive. They're not of driving age, I should say, so that will help reduce the number of cars. As far as student transportation, this is a private school, and students are responsible for their own transportation to and from the school, with a few exceptions. Students who live in the Robbinsdale School District can request bus transportation from the district, although that hasn't really happened yet, but that's a possibility. Also, secondly, Rivertree does contract for occasional field trips, so that brings buses to the properties at different times. Rivertree is contemplating possibly a second campus somewhere else within the Twin Cities, and so if they do that, they may want to shuttle students between this campus and that campus, but that's not a definite thing yet. And then lastly, I just wanted to say I'm recommending a condition of approval that just based on these unknowns, that we just kind of monitor the situation and make sure that this doesn't become a situation where it's negatively impacting the neighborhood. I don't foresee that happening, but it's just something that we would monitor. As far as stormwater management, there will be an on-site infiltration basin in front of the proposed building. Bassett Creek watershed requires approval of an erosion control permit, so that's been made a condition of approval. And then, as we always do, we always require erosion control techniques during the construction of the building. Landscape plan, 5 existing trees are to be removed, and they will be replaced with 20 new trees, which are of those species there. They're also going to be putting quite a variety of shrubs on the property, so I think it'll be a really well-landscaped property. This is a view of the elevations. It's a combination of brick and other materials. Glass, there's a lot of glass on the building. So this is the east, this faces 100. So this would be the front of the building. West is sort of facing the neighborhood, facing Welcome Avenue. South would face the existing single-family home that actually the school owns as well. And on the north side, that would face that home that the school has a purchase agreement with. So as far as conditional use permit criteria, these are the 6 criteria that we have in our zoning ordinance, which they have to meet. First, that it actually is a conditional use in that district, and that is schools are a conditional use, so that they meet that criteria. Secondly, it meets the objectives of the comp plan. It's guided as public institutional, which is a land use designation that does conform to schools. It's compatible with adjacent uses. It exists right now. It has since 2012 harmoniously with the neighborhood. We heard throughout this process that neighbors were really excited about the possibility of the school staying here for long term, because when it was a church, there was a lot of traffic and a lot of parking, so they find this to be a better fit in the neighborhood. Also, the building would be facing 100, so it's not necessarily right in the direct neighborhood. Impacts, there's not really any expected unusual noise impacts, and so it's really meets that condition as well. Parking is adequately provided, as I talked about before. And then I'm recommending 4 conditions of approval to prevent any negative impacts on the neighborhood. And those were recommended by the Planning Commission. So at this point in my presentation, you could approve a first reading of the ordinance, which rezones the property to planned development, and then also adopt a resolution which amends the conditional use permit from 2012. And then after you do that, then I would get into the resolution for the lot consolidation. Or I can do that now, too, if you want me to.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. Are there any questions for Dan?
It's a private school or a charter school?
It is a private school.
Okay. And what's the enrollment now?
The enrollment now, I think, is around 140, 150.
And they're expanding to, what, 208 is their capacity?
They've indicated that 200 is the absolute maximum, but they think it's going to be more around 180.
And is it K through 8? Or
It is K through 12.
K through 12, okay.
Yep. And the applicant is here tonight, too, if you have any questions for them. So,
Okay, thanks.
The 4 conditions, can you go over those real quick?
let's see here. I don't have those right in front of me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I could.
Explains why I couldn't find it. Thank you. I thought maybe I wasn't doing my homework well enough.
Sorry about that. Sure. The first condition is really just relates to the site plan. It just talks about that they would receive approval of the easement vacations and the lot consolidation. So that's pretty much a done deal after tonight. So the second part is just that they get their erosion control plan approval from the watershed. And then the third part of that is that they sign a site improvement agreement with the city to guarantee installation of the landscaping, which is a very routine agreement that we have them sign. And then the other conditions, the second one there just kind of spells out that we are limiting for this particular approval student enrollment to I just rounded it up to 210 instead of 208. And I said if additional students are desired, they could apply for an amendment to this CUP and PUD site plan. Thirdly, it just there were several conditions from 2012, so those are basically revoked, so to speak, and they're replaced with these conditions here. Some of these were from 2012 and some are new. The applicant has agreed to all of these conditions, by the way. The first condition under number 3 is just that they would be allowed to lease their property for, say, a church use, but it's really a secondary use. It just kind of spells out that that's a secondary use. Oh, okay. Okay. That second one there just talks about the daily bus transportation. It goes through those things that I went through in my presentation about the exceptions where buses may come, and that we will monitor the bus traffic just to make sure it doesn't become have a negative impact on the neighborhood. And then thirdly, it just kind of makes a statement that Because the River Tree property is embedded within a single-family neighborhood, hours of operation shall be no earlier than 6 a.m. and no later than 10. That's a condition from 2012. And then the fourth condition, this is from our zoning ordinance. It gives them a year to apply for the building permit for the new building. And if they want an extension of that, they should submit their extension request in writing no later than February of 2020. So the other conditions are more just legal type things. They're not necessarily, they're things that we put on every approval. So
Sure, okay. So they were in there, just not labeled as Dan's conditions.
right.
All right, thank you.
Yep. For these conditions, I always go through the applicant with them, and I go through them before we
Yeah, absolutely.
finalize the packet and make sure that
Very
they
good.
understand them and they're okay with them. So.
Yep, you've been very good at that, thank you. Troy, did you find anything unusual in this agreement?
Mr. Mayor, no, I didn't. Staff is trying to be aware of potential impacts, and so that's where some of that language comes in. If, hopefully working with the owner or the applicant, if those do become problems, see if there's other ways to mitigate it. But if need be, coming back for an amendment is an appropriate approach to address that.
Okay.
So,
Thank you. All right, any other questions from council? Do we have anybody here from, are you from River Tree? Would you be willing to step forward and introduce yourself? We'd like to meet you, and we'd like the public to meet you.
My name is Rodney Nelson. I am the principal and one of the founders of River Tree School. My wife and I started the school in 2009 up in Brooklyn Park with 14 students. I think at the time we were in grades K, 2, 3, 4, and 5. No first graders, probably. Since then, the school's grown to about, as Dan mentioned, about 140 students. And we moved to Crystal in 2012 in our fourth year. So we've been here for 7 years now. And it's been a fantastic location for us. River Tree Schools is a different school. We use an old British method of education. It's called the Charlotte Mason method, and we're part of a network of schools, an international network of schools. There's 14 in the United States, and there are 7 over. I'm not doing my math right, but there's several overseas, we're one of the training centers for Ambleside Schools International. So lots of people come to our school, and I get training in this method, and then go out and perhaps start other schools in other states. It's kind of a unique school. The closest one like it is in Milwaukee, and there's one in Marion, Illinois, and then another one in Denver. There's 3 in Denver. But so it's we've been delighted to be in Crystal. And our plan, the model of the school is a small school model. We never intend to get big. We always want our school community to be a community that there's no strangers, so that a child walks into the building and he doesn't see anything but familiar faces after a few months. And in fact, we try to make sure that the students are kind of integrated by age, so that older students and younger students have a chance to meet together, interact together. They often eat meals together. They often are buddies for chapel or things like that, and they play on the playgrounds together. Well, the parking lot is our playground, and so it's a unique little school here in Crystal, and we're really pleased with it. I have 6 children. They all go to River Tree School, so I'm highly confident in it and sending my own kids. And I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have if you want to know anything.
Sure, absolutely. I've got one. So you were talking about a second campus. Would that be because you've maximized your stated size here?
It would be. Actually, the size that Dan mentioned is something that's in our contract with Ambleside Schools International. We're allowed to have 16 students per grade in 13 grades, K through 12. So that's 208. Again, we feel that 16 is about the outer edge of the envelope, where a teacher can have a very close relationship with each of his or her students. You start to get beyond that, we feel that you start to be more managing a crowd. And so small is a big part of what we do. Relationships are a big part of what we do. So each teacher should know their students well enough so that if I ask, how's so-and-so doing in reading, the teacher doesn't have to go look in a grade book to tell me. She knows them all.
Sure.
And that's so. Anyway, so you asked about a second campus. That would be. It's always been one of our kind of long-term ideas that if this grew enough so that there were more people that wanted to come than we had room for, we would look at starting another campus, probably on the St. Paul side of the river, and then perhaps run a bus between them, figuring that school might start off K through 4 or something like that, but there might be older siblings who need a place to go, and so we would maybe bus them over, or maybe there might be some high school students that would come. So that's the idea there. But again, this is more of a dream than a plan.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. Does anybody else have any questions for Rodney?
Where's your population come from? Is it pretty local?
No, actually, well, local as far as, they're all in the Twin Cities.
But not just in this part of the metro?
No, if you draw a box on the map that gets all of our families, we have some in Chaska, we have some in Rogers, we have some in Shoreview, we have families in Hugo, and we have some in Bloomington. So it's a really big box, and it's pretty diverse throughout that box. Mostly Western Metro, but it's kind of a destination school. Again, it's a method of education that homeschooling families use a lot. And then when they find out there's a school that's doing it, some of them will say, well, I have to get my kids there. And so they drive. So,
Yeah.
yes.
I've heard some people within Crystal discovering you, and they're very impressed.
There are more and more.
Yeah.
So thank you.
We're very familiar with your methods
Oh, good.
and appreciate your school, so,
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
in our own family experience.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Good. Oh, wonderful. We'll stop by sometime.
So very cool. Anybody else? Thank you for stepping forward and introducing yourself and letting us know who you are.
Glad to be here.
Appreciate it. All right. We've got, go ahead, John.
I can make a motion if you'd like.
Yes, please.
Okay. I make a motion approving an ordinance amending the zoning map to rezone property for River Tree School located at 3709 and 3733 Veracruz Avenue North from low-density residential R1 to low-density residential R1 plan development.
All right, thank you. Looking for a second. Brendan?
I'll second.
Thank you. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Want me to move on with
Yep,
the next one?
please.
Okay. I approve a resolution amending a conditional use permit for River Tree School and approving a site plan.
All right, looking for a second. Brendan?
I'll do it as well.
All right, all members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Rodney, congratulations. I would say welcome to Crystal, but you're already here. So welcome. It's great to see the expansion. We're happy. We're happy for you. All right.
Do you want me?
Is there another?
Discussion on this?
One
Or do we?
There is just one more
There's a third one?
approval, resolution for
Oh, yeah.
for this.
Final plat.
Yeah, it's kind of a multifaceted approval process.
Oh, it's under a different item. Got it. Go
So
ahead.
this last part is just to consolidate the 4 lots into one. It's submittal of a final plat. So these, on your screen here, these are the description of the lot sizes and the use of the particular, each lot. So they'll all be one, including the vacated alley right-of-way. This is a graphic showing the final plat. And these are the criteria we also have for lot consolidations. Again, that it conforms to the comp plan, which I discussed before. It does conform to the Unified Development Code, which it does because it's the whole purpose of this project, or one of the things, is to avoid negative impacts to the surrounding properties, and this does, as I said before. And the last criteria is it should create lots that conform to the UDC, the sizes and such. They're not requesting any variances, and the consolidation will result in the entire parking lot being on one lot. So having said that, I'm recommending approval of the resolution consolidating the lot,
Thank you, Dan.
approving the plat.
Any further questions? Seeing none. Motion. John?
Make a motion approving a resolution for River Tree School final plat.
All right, thank you. Brendan? Second? Thank you. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right.
Thank you.
Yep,
Thank you
thank
much.
you. Next item is in relationship to our pool. We have John Elholm here to address us on that item. Welcome, John.
Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members. Pool season is on the horizon, so we are starting to get things ready to go for the 2019 season. And one of those things is replacement of the pool heaters. Those have been identified for replacement and are in our capital budget. $50,000 is in the budget, and we did get 2 quotes, lowest being from Aztec Heating and Air Conditioning for $48,500. So the request this evening is just to go ahead and approve a contract with them to, in the amount of $48,500 to replace the 2 pool heaters at the Crystal Cove Aquatic Center.
Julie?
So, I know sometimes cities and counties and states, they have kind of a master plan where they say, these chairs are going to last 10 years, and whether they're rotten or not, we're going to buy them because it's in our plan to get new chairs. So do these heaters really need to be replaced now? And again, I'm not disagreeing that, because pool heaters, I like to go to pools too, and I like them heated. So I don't want to chip anybody out of a heated pool, but in your opinion, professional opinion, I mean, are they really ready to replace, or could we get another 4 or 5 years from them?
Yeah, I think the fear in a situation like this is they last around 15 years, I believe, is where these are at.
Okay.
And if they were to go down in the middle of the summer, there would be lost revenue and upset.
So these are
swimmers.
15 years old?
I believe that is correct.
All right.
Oh, yeah, that answers my question. Sometimes I just think, you spend because you got it budgeted, but this is pretty important to have comfortable pool water for the kids and parents. So, I won't skimp here.
So,
Yeah, I think it goes to reliability of the
Right,
service. Yep.
right.
John?
Mayor, since the council member would like a heated pool, do you think she'd like to make a motion as well?
I don't know. Maybe.
I'll make it.
All right, thank you.
I'll make a resolution in support of replacing the pool heaters at the Crystal Cove Aquatic Center.
All right, looking for a second.
I'd like to second that.
Thanks, John. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you, John. Boy, we really put him through the ringer, didn't we? All right, Mark is here to address the council, and we will talk about mill and overlay projects.
Here we go. So this year's street maintenance project will consist of a mill and overlay project. Just remove top 2 inches of asphalt and replace it with new one, as well as a lot of miscellaneous concrete work, curb and gutter, ped ramps. The streets being done in this area did not have curbs, just wholesale replaced when they were reconstructed. Bids were open March 12th. We actually had 10 bidders for this project. It was pretty impressive. As you can see, the high bid was just over $700,000. The low bid was $557,442.10, and the median was actually pretty close there. So we really feel we had a few outliers, but I mean the majority of those bids were pretty tight. So that's always good to see. $580,000 was budgeted for the project, and work is scheduled to be completed by mid-August. Here's the area right around Lions Valley Park. 32nd will go from Douglas to Nevada. And the request is for motion to approve the resolution authorizing the contract with North Valley for the mill and overlay project.
All right, any questions? Brendan?
Oh, no questions. I was
Go ahead.
ready to make a motion, unless there's anybody else has questions.
I have one quick question.
Okay.
Why don't you go ahead and make the motion? We can talk after.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right. I move to award the contract for 2019 street mill overlay project.
Okay, thank you. I'll second that. Julie?
So when were those streets done? Yeah, we went through our entire street reconstruction project, and I'm just curious how long those roads
I
last.
think that was phase 2, so
Okay.
that was 1996 or 97, I believe.
Okay, about 20 years?
Was it
97.
3? So when
Three.
Winnetka
It's gotta be 3,
Hills,
doesn't it?
south of Bass, so maybe 3.
Yeah.
We're right in that phase 1 to 2 to 3 area, or sorry, 2 to 3 area.
I think it's 3.
We'll be there for the next couple of years. So yeah, so it's 96, 97.
Okay,
And nothing has been done other than a seal coat was done. That's it.
okay. That was it.
Okay, John?
And then the contractor, let's see what, Was it Valley?
North Valley.
North Valley, we've worked with them before?
Yep.
And what, approximately what phases did they?
I don't think I'm not sure if they've done actual street reconstruction. I think they were a subcontractor in a job. I think they might have been a subcontractor.
A subcontractor, okay.
Yeah, in one of our larger recons.
Okay.
I don't think they've been a prime.
Okay, thank you.
And one last
Yep,
question.
go ahead, Joe.
Do they guarantee their work in terms of how long it'll last,
So-
ballpark-wise?
So it's always a 1-year warranty on the project.
Yeah.
It's what
I mean, what are they
Yeah.
projecting that this mill and overlay should last in a real world?
So we actually are scheduling so the follow-up work would be another 15 to 20 years with the next mill and overlay.
Okay.
Is what we've scheduled out.
That's it for my questions.
All right. We got a first and a second. We're looking for all those in favor. Please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
It would be nice for those neighborhoods not to pay assessments.
Yeah, that'll be real nice. No surprises, no underlying debt.
Yeah.
Question, in terms of potholes that are forming in other areas, I'm already getting questions as to when that's going to start to happen.
So-
Wondering if you can kind of give us some guidance.
Yeah, so the big thing is we're waiting for the asphalt plants to open up with hot mix. So St. Paul will start opening probably the next few weeks, but our main plants won't open until spring load restrictions are removed and the contractors can start the heavy paving. So we're expecting the next couple weeks, weather permitting, to be out there starting to patch stuff. But the roads have been seal coated or where we're seeing a lot of pain.
Okay.
I had something interesting today.
Go ahead,
You know,
Joe.
my friend of mine works for MnDOT. He's out on the, I'm just saying, they were supposed to get 3 trucks of asphalt today to start repairing some of the potholes for that region. They only got 1 truck, and then they ran out of asphalt, because,
Wow. Yeah, so I think St. Paul is the only plant currently open.
yeah.
Go ahead, John.
And then, the county roads look like they're in pretty tough shape. And so have you heard from them at all if they're going to be doing some work in our city?
I mean, as far as patching goes, or as
they
far
might need
as...
to, they look like the roads themselves are broken, so it looks like it's deeper than just, mill and overlay, but.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any. The next project we'll have in bordering Crystal is on Winnetka, I believe scheduled for next year as a mill and overlay. That's the only project that I'm aware of from the county standpoint. Any full reconstruction would be a different conversation, and they want a cost share.
Right.
But residents can report potholes on our website.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah, and the big thing
Report a
is
pothole link on our website.
you can. The one thing is if you're on a county road, and we'll pass it along to the county, but
Exactly.
just know the county roads have more issues than us.
Yes.
We can react more. Brendan.
That's where I was going to go. One, you can report on the website, but overall, even driving around, our streets are in pretty good shape. Am I?
Yeah,
is
where we're
is there
seeing-
some areas that may be worse than others, but for the most part, I've actually been able to tell the difference when you go from Robbinsdale to Crystal to New Hope.
It's one of the many ways you can tell the difference for sure with those two cities. But the areas that were seal coated, we're definitely struggling, and that's not unique to Crystal, where basically moisture gets trapped below, and so you'll see it looks like it's basically just peeling off the top ½ inch. So it's raveling is what it is, and so that's why for the next few years you're going to see a lot of mill and overlays in this area because this is where we're seeing the issues. Plus, this pavement is pretty much 20 years old at this point. A little over.
23.
Yeah.
So we're seeing rougher roads where we've seal coated.
Correct. And we are not, that is a metro-wide issue.
And that's a practice that's done with.
That's why we stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, not bad for an off-agenda item. But, these are the questions that people want to know, they want to know the answers to, and thank you for the website piece, that, I forgot that you could report them on the website, thank you. Let's move on to our next item. It's Mark again, sign truck.
Way less exciting. So we have this nice yellow or orange truck scheduled to be replaced 2002. We just got notified that the cab and chassis, which we're proposing to order, has a 6-month lead time at this point. So while we have not figured out the attachment part of it, it's kind of like the back half, We're going to go ahead and order the chassis for just under $41,000 off the state contract. This is actually a 2-for-1 replacement, sort of. So we have the sign truck that will be sold for auction. We also have a vehicle maintenance truck that will be replacing an older Parks pickup. That Parks pickup will then go to auction. The new sign truck is really going to be a combined vehicle maintenance sign truck because in looking at the operations, they need similar equipment out in the field. So we're going to kind of consolidate there just for better equipment utilization.
Very nice. Any other questions from council? All right. John?
Make a motion approving the purchase of a replacement sign truck.
All right. Thank you. Looking for a second. Julie?
I'll second.
All right. All members in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. All right. Motion carries.
In color, orange?
It'll be white.
All white.
All right. So I think our final item is relating to chapters 1 and 9 of the city code. We have our city attorney here, Troy Gilchrist, to address the council on those items. So welcome, Troy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council. The council saw this at its work session on March 5, 2019, not 18, as indicated in the memo. Just to refresh the council's memory, we obviously went through all the chapters, attempting to make the upgrades, the policy changes directed by the council, and also incorporating the changes suggested from the task force. This is an attempt to go back through, take another look at it from a staff perspective, try to catch anything that we may have missed or misconstrued through the amendment process. There was a lot of work involved there. And so these are bringing forward some of the corrective items that particularly staff has noticed in looking back through what has been adopted. This is the first corrective ordinance. There will be another one coming down the line that addresses the second half of the code. Once we get done with this, we'll come back with the entire code reformatted to be consistent with the formatting changes that we had talked about several times over the months. What you have before you are chapters 1 through 9, as you indicated, Mr. Mayor. Most of these, frankly, don't qualify as truly substantive changes. I mean, there's a lot of correction to cross-reference sections, that sort of thing, that they looked fine when we did chapter 1, but when you do chapter 9, 10, 11, 12, those changes, it changes. So we had to go back and catch some of those. One of the more substantive changes in the chapter, I'll talk about 5 in a second, but as indicated in the work session, there are some changes to the curb cut requirements, or allowances, I should say, to family dwellings. For instance, can be allowed a second curb cut subject to certain restrictions that are indicated. The other substantive change talks about trying to clean up, or I should say, accord with the fire code. And I know this was a point of discussion during the work session. We went back. The question about the separation distance, essentially how close can a recreational fire be to structures. The code originally had 15 feet setback for that, as well as you needed to have a fire hose or something like that within 15 feet. Frankly, I think there was some miscommunication and some uncertainty as to when I made the changes. I changed the one, not the other one. So this is an attempt to bring it back into accord with the fire code. The council had good questions about, is this really required by the fire code, or is this something we have some flexibility on? So we went back, and with the help of the fire chief, came back. She provided the sections of the fire code. So what we did is confirmed, frankly, that the recreational fire, the minimum setback is 25 feet from any structure or combustible materials. However, there is an additional portion in the fire code that talks about portable fireplaces. And so I thought, to be consistent with the direction I was getting from the council, is that we should be clear about that too. And so I added language from the fire code in here that talks about portable outdoor fireplaces shall be used in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions and shall be kept a minimum of 15 feet from structure. So that is allowed at 15 feet under the fire code. And then as far as having to keep an extinguisher, hose, that sort of thing, we did move that back to 15 feet. So that's not directed by code, but that's frankly, a recommendation from the fire chief. Makes sense to have something close at hand if the fire gets out of control. So I just want to be clear, we did check that, and we're providing as much flexibility as we can right down to what the code mandates of us, frankly. The other thing that I wanted to mention, the final thing here to wrap up, is just some of the highlights of Chapter 5, which is the UDC. This by far had the most corrective changes, and frankly, your planning staff, Dan, obviously put a lot of time and effort into going through the code. That's the 60-some pages of amendments that are on the back. The substantive, and of course, if there's any specific questions, Dan can certainly jump up and answer them. But a lot of them are cleaning up, clarifying the zoning certificate application process. Some of the changes are just mandated by the policy decisions the council made further in the code. Amusement centers, that was pulled out of some of the regulations that you have. Food trucks, you address that in a later provision of the code. So it's no longer addressed specifically in Chapter 5, instead it's in Chapter 13. Parking lots and ramps, clarifying the difference between those. Some of the more substantive changes are talking about outdoor storage, actually providing some greater flexibility there for businesses on outdoor storage, still requiring them to mitigate impacts, that sort of thing. So, limit the impacts to others, clarifying some landscaping requirements, and then finally addressing signs. As John had explained to you in the work session, trying to get the timing for the electronic signs and the changing messages, trying to come more in line with what your surrounding cities do by increasing the amount of time, or I should say, I think decreasing the amount of time that the message needs to appear. So bringing you or keeping you more in line with what is more typical among your surrounding cities. So that certainly doesn't cover everything that's in the amendment, but again, this is primarily meant with a few of those exceptions that I mentioned to be a cleanup. You'll see one more of these with 10 through 20, and then hopefully a nice big redone code that you can adopt in one fell swoop, and that'll be a clean, updated code after, what have we been, 2.5 years, 3 years on this?
Not quite 3, but yeah.
So I'm happy to answer any questions if there are.
Okay. Any questions for Troy? Seeing none, looking for a motion. Julie?
I'll make a motion amending revised chapters 1 through 9 of the Crystal City Code.
You okay?
I can second that motion.
Brendan.
I'll second that motion.
Wrong pipe?
Just so excited.
Excuse me. All members in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. I think I just lost my voice. Julie, would you be willing to do announcements?
Sure. The following announcements are the Crystal Business Association meets on Wednesday, March 20th, which is tomorrow morning at 8:30 in the community room. Mayor Adams, if he gets his voice back, will present the 2019 State of the City address. The Environmental Quality Commission is hosting the University of Minnesota's Bee Squad presentation of helping people help bees. That will be Thursday, March 21st at 7 o'clock at the Crystal Community Center. Our next Crystal City Council meeting is Tuesday, April 2nd at 7 o'clock right here in the council chambers. Local organizations are always welcome and invited to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance at any council meeting. Contact city staff for information. And as always, city council meetings and work sessions are open to the public. Current and previous meetings are available for viewing and or your listening pleasure at www.crystalmn.gov.
All right. Any other announcements? Seeing none. Looking for John?
Make a motion to adjourn.
All right, thank you. Looking for a second.
I'll second.
Thanks, Therese. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Great week. We'll see you in a couple.